Hi guys, how are you doing today? Hope you are having a sunny day. Ready for some new drama from Askalawyer? Let's go to the first one, about OP's affair child, who tried ruining OP's brother's wedding. Listen to the story, guys, to find out what OP did, and of course to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. So, my sister, 24, and my brother Tree, 26, never really got along. My brother and I are full siblings, while our younger sister is only half. My mother and father got divorced due to our father having an affair. Our sister later found out about this and never stopped talking about it. She brought it up in every argument as a snarky remark. Our mom never said or did anything claiming she's hurt too, because she wasn't our full sibling. Anyways, fast forward to last weekend. Our brother was getting married. Him and his wife had been planning for over 2 years, so it was an amazing, well-planned-out event. After the whole ceremony and photo shoot that took place afterwards, we headed to the reception. As the bridal party was in the limo, my sister was already being snarky with her comments. She started saying things like, "This champagne is a bit tacky," and "You guys had so much time to plan and this is what you ended up with?" My sister-in-law was still being kind, but it was embarrassing to watch her act like that. Eventually, after everyone had danced and ate, it was time for the speeches. My sister and I had our speeches right after each other. I went first and said some things about my brother and how lovely I know his family will be, all while listening to my sister scoff in my ear, as if to say she didn't believe a thing I said. Now, her speech was written on a napkin, so she stood in front of most of our family and friends and said, "I could say many amazing things, yet all I can manage right now is, brother's name, just don't end up like your parents." Everyone was silent until my mother took the microphone and started speaking. I dragged my sister off to the side and yelled about how stupid she was, and said something along the lines of, "You think you're funny, don't you? Next time you come near me or my brother, I'll remind you how much of an outsider you really are." I do admit it was harsh, but I'm not someone that lets things slide. She of course started bawling and ran out as my aunts started scolding me. It's been non-stop angry texts since the reception was over. Most of them are scolding me, and some are telling me that I was harsh, but right. So, should I be apologizing to my sister? Edit. To answer some questions. My sister and I share a father. Yes, she is the affair baby, and yes, her mother was in the picture. I'm not 100% about those family matters, so I cannot speak on that. But she lived with my brother, my mother, and I throughout high school. It's confusing, yes, but my mother never held resentment towards my sister. It was my sister who decided we were completely in the wrong for something that our father did. Now, I do understand that she may have resentment and other things towards us, yet she was never an outsider. Opposite, actually. Anything my brother and I did, we brought her. Our mother even scolded us if we made her feel different in any way. Our living arrangements meant that we always had the same visitation weekends that she did. While we were there, she constantly locked herself away and didn't participate in anything. Our father is not like my mother, where he'll just go and talk to her. He just let her sulk and continued on with his day. Apologies for any confusion. Update. Yesterday, my sister came to my house and asked to speak with me. Truly, she didn't give me much of a choice, since she just pushed past me into my home anyways. To summarize the 2-hour conversation that was mostly yelling and passive aggressiveness, she had said how much jealousy she had for us since we were kids, and she just wanted a moment to be more than our half-sister. I told her that her moment should never have been in someone's wedding, especially our brother's. She cried and even called our dad for backup as I was telling her to get out of my house. She stood on the porch of my house crying for 10 minutes before flipping off my Ring camera and leaving. I sent her a paragraph explaining how she needs therapy for whatever feelings she has bottled up inside. I also said that I would not be interacting with her until she does seek that mental help she needs. Regardless of her feelings, she should have been on her best behavior for that one night. Her insinuating the issues OP's parents had was completely out of line. Maybe she actually thought it would get a laugh, but considering her history of bringing up the affair, this was rooted in how she genuinely feels. Either way, 100% inappropriate to say in front of everyone at the wedding. OP was sticking up for her brother and his spouse, who are entitled to a nice night with no drama. Don't know this person, but based on what OP said, she seems like an entitled brat that needs to learn that in life, there are consequences to moronic decisions. And just because you cry, doesn't mean you automatically get sympathy and are absolved of any wrongdoing. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Kate Hader says, "Not the a-hole. Your sister played a stupid game and won a stupid prize. That is a truly disgusting speech to give, and she's the only one who owes an apology in this situation, to pretty much everyone." Ankal JD says, "No, not the a-hole. Blood or half-blood. I think family is when you stand up for each other. It was insensitive of her to talk about your parents on your brother's wedding, which is obviously a happy day having just happy memories. At least you told her not in front of a crowd, unlike her who had zero tact. So I think you are not the a-hole. Montarac says, "Mad the affair child was even invited to a wedding where your mother is in attendance. How disrespectful. But yeah, not the a-hole." I've been dating Mark for the past 6 months, and he's been a nice guy so far. Has all the qualities I would want in a partner. He's nice, kind, an amazing cook. We do everything together, and have never had problems in our relationship thus far. Mark took me to meet his family for the first time ever 2 days ago. My period was a day or two late this month, so I wasn't surprised when I started menstruating in the middle of playing with Mark's nieces. I didn't think much of it, and told Mark's mom, who was playing with the nieces alongside me, that I needed to use the bathroom since I've gotten my period. I was not expecting to see disgust on her face. She looked really panicked and disgusted when she stood up to lead me to the bathroom. The whole time, she kept telling me not to touch anything or anyone, and to maintain a safe distance from the food on the dinner table. It was bizarre to me, but I kept my mouth shut until I could get a tampon inside me. When I came out, I noticed that Mark's mom seemed wary of me. I asked her if everything was okay, and she said that everything was fine, but that I couldn't touch certain things in the house, especially the items made out of cloth. This included the couch. I had to sit on a random wooden chair. I would not have minded if not for the context. This whole situation made me extremely mad, as she was treating me like I was impure and untouchable. The other women in the house did not say anything, and the men pretended not to hear the commotion. I told Mark's mom clearly that I was not going to be following these rules, and would much rather prefer to be out of the house. Mark had gone out to get ice creams for everyone, so I did not get the chance to tell him before I stormed out and went back home by cab. He wasn't upset with me, but he did say that I could have waited for him to come back, even though it wasn't completely necessary. My sister-in-law says it was kind of an a-hole move to just up and leave. I could have dealt for it once, for Mark's sake, but I'm torn. Am I the a-hole? That's actually crazy. It's not OP's fault she got her period, and I don't understand why she would be acting like that because most females have periods. What does she do when she's on hers? I don't think OP was in the wrong for leaving. His mother's behavior is extremely strange. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Mugrosa Kitty says, "Not the a-hole. You may want to rethink this relationship. The mom is super weird. I'm going to guess this is some culture thing that you're not familiar with. I'm being very charitable when I describe it in this way. This whole situation is a huge, gigantic red flag. I don't think you'd be a good fit for this family." Kufat says, "The answer depends on Mark's family's motivations. If they're just grossed out by menstruation and treated you badly because of it, then not the a-hole. If it's a mental health issue on Mark's mother's part, as some commenters have suggested, then I'd say not the a-hole. If it's a result of a religious belief or other faith tradition, in that case, I'd have to say not the a-hole. Seriously, don't spend time with people who treat you badly." Testarosa13 says, "I don't understand why you needed to tell her you got your period. Wouldn't just saying you need to use the bathroom suffice? Not the a-hole." My 29 female sister Andrea, 33 female, has found it hard to conceive for so long. Even when she did have a child thrice, she miscarried each time. Her last pregnancy was 3 years ago. She was in hysterics that time. I asked her whether there was anything I could do. She admitted that it's unfair I have a child and she doesn't. Talked about how it might be her fault, etc. Nothing I would say would ever convince her, and in the end, I said, "If you want a child, I'll give you mine if I ever get pregnant again. Now please, stop blaming yourself." She asked me whether I really meant that, and I said yes. I got pregnant again 2 years later and had twins now. Throughout the pregnancy, she was very supportive and nothing seemed off. But it's been a few weeks since they were born, and she approached me to say congratulations and asked me to hand over one of the babies now. I was surprised, shocked, but she reminded me of my promise and said I can't back away from it now. I straight up refused and asked her to duck off. She began to protest by saying that I had promised and that I betrayed her, etc. We got into an argument, and when my husband learned about it, he yelled at her himself and asked her to never show up to his house again, etc. We had a large verbal sparring along with her and her husband. A few of my family are also saying that I should give up the child and that there's nothing wrong with her raising them, etc. I am not backing down though, but they're saying I did promise. Am I the a-hole? Kasparian says, "Okay, you are obviously under no obligation to cede one of your children to your sister. But what in the actual hell is wrong with you? Why on earth would you even promise that? Your sister is clearly not doing well with her mental health in this department. This is not the kind of thing you just throw out there as an empty promise. You're an a-hole for even suggesting this sort of arrangement to begin with, and I cannot figure out why you would do so. Blue Star Silver says, everyone sucks here. You're the a-hole for promising that, especially when she was in that state of mind, insisting you meant it, not readdressing it when you were pregnant. But no one in their right mind should expect you to hand over one of your kids. Did this really not get brought up at all until after the birth? It is very odd. Ortiz RN says, you're the a-hole for even suggesting it, and then doubling down when she asked you if you were serious. What kind of person just says that to a person that just lost a baby? You expected her to just forget? Please bear with me. I'm so distraught right now. I'm 30 female, and I was with my now ex for 7 years. In December, we found out we were expecting our first baby. I'm due in 5 days. In April, we mutually decided that I would leave my job because I had early signs of preeclampsia. This heavily impacted our finances. We had almost $13,000 saved, but given that we went from making $4.5K a month to $2K a month, it was still hard. Well, my husband's older brother passed away a month ago from excess. He had been struggling for some time, and my husband took it particularly hard, as his brother was his best friend before addiction consumed him. His mother called a family meeting a couple weeks later and asked everyone to pull together money for a proper burial, headstone, and cremation. It totaled to almost $17,000. Despite not having the money for it really, my husband offered what he thought he could afford, which was $1,500, during which time his mother basically said that wasn't enough and made him feel like crap about it. Arguing that we had one job and a baby on the way didn't matter to his mother, and she started ignoring his phone call shortly after the meeting. Fast forward to Thursday of last week. I got an alert from our bank account that $16.5K was withdrawn by check. The bank launches an investigation, and they have my husband's mother on camera cashing the check. That was all of our money, literally left us with $20 and no money until he gets paid next Friday. He doesn't even have money to get to work. I immediately told him I fully expect him to sue her, as the bank is ready to press full charges and has prompted us with how to do so. But he won't. He said he can't morally do that because his brother just died, and he says his mother wouldn't have done that if she was in a stable mind, but she's clearly not thinking straight since the death of her son. I'm literally due in 5 days, and we have absolutely not a single penny to our name for our baby, let alone food to eat or money to pay bills. I told him if he doesn't sue her, I was leaving. Death or not, sound mind or not, we have a baby due and nothing left. He still refused, so I left. I spent the last of the money to get a bus ticket to go to my mother's home without a penny to my name. He says I'm wrong because I left when he was literally broken. His brother's death has literally destroyed him. Am I the a-hole? Alana Advice says, not the a-hole, obviously. But how did your mother-in-law get the check? Especially if she was not communicating with you both during this time. Are you sure your husband didn't give it to her? That seems more likely, and he was hoping you would let it go. I'd definitely walk away too. I'm sorry about his brother, but his mother is acting unhinged, and she shouldn't be allowed to get away with it. Yes, she's grieving, but so is your husband, so are you. You already have a medical condition to worry about. This is so not helping. Can you sue her yourself, separate from your husband? If it was a joint account, you should be able to, I think. Zelaznog Treborknov says, you don't sue, you file theft charges with the police. EK Gem says, not the a-hole. Look, I'm not disparaging your husband, but someone in this relationship has to think about pesky things like food, rent, diapers, etc. His concern for his mother's feelings do not take precedence over your future. I, 36 female, have a niece and 2 nephews, all in their teens. Their parents, my brother and sister-in-law, passed from an accident a year ago. They're currently staying with my widowed father, 71. I also have a sister, Maria, 43, who's married but childless. I have good relationships with all my niece and nephews, and they're all good kids. For background information, my family is very patriarchal. Women were expected to listen to and serve the men in the family. I grew up seeing my mother and Maria always bending over backwards to do everything to please my father and my brother. We are comfortable financially, so they weren't forced to do back-breaking labor, but it was obvious they were second in importance to my father and brother. I was lucky that I was the baby of the family, and I was also good at studying. My academic awards brought pride to the family, so I was allowed to skip out on some expectations and obligations my mother and Maria had to do, as long as I maintained the good work. I got into a great school and am able to live my own life and have my own business. Recently, my father asked me and Maria to read over the will he was putting together. He explained that Maria and I already received our inheritance from our mother. Nothing substantial, by the way. So he wants to leave most of his things to his grandkids. We don't have a family business, so my father has money, valuables like jewelry, and some real estates like land and buildings for rent. I noticed that my niece got very little compared to her brothers. It will be enough to get her comfortably through university, but not much else. I asked my father why such disparity, and he gave BS about keeping things in the family, that my niece will be part of another family once she marries someone. I didn't say anything to my father because he can do what he wants with his money. However, I talked to Maria and told her I plan to provide extra money for my niece as a graduation gift, as well as giving her more than half my assets in my will to even out the unfair treatment. My sister, however, called me an a-hole for punishing our nephews when they did nothing wrong. Am I the a-hole? That guy incognito says, "That didn't read as though you are not proficient in English. You are not punishing your nephews. You are giving your money where you think it will do the most good, and you are doing so to even out unfair treatment. Your dad, though, is the a-hole for creating the inequality. No matter what family your niece is deemed to be in, she'll still need money. His refusing to support her makes him a bad family member. You are right to make sure that injustice doesn't stay in the family." Brave Law 5080 says, "Not the a-hole. It's your money and you can do what you want. It doesn't seem like equity is big in your family anyway, so you should be able to do the same thing, even if you're a woman." Karen Spank says, "That's really thoughtful, and no, it's not punishing your nephews. It's remedying your father privileging them while willfully depriving your niece of a fair share. Also, it's your money, and no one can decide to whom you want to give it to but you.